Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. After Biden threatened to veto the infrastructure bill last week, he reversed his stance again. The identity of Chinese defector becomes more obscure. Both the U.S. government and Beijing took steps to dismiss the rumors. The Texas court ruled Facebook should be held accountable for sex trafficking content. Why can't Section 230 protect Facebook this time? Plaintiffs in Fulton County's mail-in ballot suit had a victory. The county's attempt to dismiss the lawsuit failed. We might see something happening there real soon. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Joe Biden has qualified his support of the original bipartisan infrastructure deal. He says he fully stands behind the bipartisan bill for now. Last Thursday, Biden and a group of senators finally reached a bipartisan infrastructure proposal. At first, it seemed they had finally hammered out a deal with something for everyone. Both sides had compromised to reach the $1.2 trillion proposal. Biden praised the efforts as the heart of democracy. Everyone was happy about it, except, of course, the far left of the Democratic Party. There was no elder care, no green energy, and no tax hikes in the deal. It was a big loss to them. The progressive members in the Senate must have been going hard on Biden because just hours later, at another press conference, he told the country that there's a second part coming. And if he didn't get the additional tax and the human infrastructure package, he would veto the bill he just agreed to that morning. It appeared to be a deal breaker. Then Republicans threatened not to vote for the bill. Then Biden shifted gears again. Saturday afternoon, the White House released a new statement with a whole new stance. It reads, quote, "I intend to pursue the passage of that plan, which Democrats and Republicans agreed to on Thursday with vigor. I fully stand behind it without reservation or hesitation." When you read the statement carefully, Biden points out two sources of conflict. He says, some other Democrats have said they might oppose the infrastructure plan because it omits items they think are important. That is a mistake in my view. Some Republicans now say that they might oppose the infrastructure plan because I'm also trying to pass the American Family Plan. That is also a mistake in my view. I intend to work hard to get both of them passed. So the two bills aren't linked anymore. That's what Biden says. The question is, does he even have a stance? He's commander-in-chief, and yet he flip-flops so often. Tomorrow, if the far left pushes him in yet another direction, would he change his mind again? If the position a president takes largely depends on the amount of pressure he gets, that's a big problem. The identity of the Chinese defector is becoming more obscure. After Spy Talk first broke the story that the Vice Minister of China's State Secretary Ministry, Deng Xingwei, had defected to the United States, a U.S. government official finally reached out to Spy Talk, only to say reports of Deng's defection were not true. When Spy Talk was preparing to report on the defection, it sought comments from the State Department, but there was no response. When asked why the Biden administration would proactively deny the rumors afterward, the official replied, "That's more of a policy question," and told Spy Talk to talk to the White House. The official also said they can't confirm or deny where Deng is exactly and wouldn't say any more. Soon after the U.S. official dismissed the rumors, Beijing responded too. The Chinese embassy in Washington informed U.S. media last week that the senior counterintelligence official had attended a security conference on June 23rd. And there's a picture of it this time. Deng is sitting on the far right with 4 CCP officials at a Security Council meeting in Shanghai. So Beijing was trying to say Deng is still in China, but this is not convincing enough. Subsequent reports and supposed expert analysis fueled speculation on the Chinese defector's identity or Deng's precise whereabouts. Senior member of the Republican National Convention, Shen Yun, claimed the conference picture had been edited. He even photoshopped his own face into the photo to show he could be at the meeting too. Yu tweeted, "DIA still has Deng Xingwei in its protective custody." Moreover, as the rumors of the Chinese defector circulated in the U.S., on June 18th, CCP leader Xi Jinping led a group of high-ranking Chinese officials on a loyalty campaign. At the party's History exhibition hall, CCP officials all took an oath saying they would keep the party's secrets and never betray the Communist Party. On the U.S. government side, former Pentagon and State Department China expert Nicholas F. Tamiades said that dismissing the rumors was likely coordinated at the highest level of the Biden administration. The former Pentagon official said he was rather stunned that the government did that. In reality, Deng's defection, even if it did happen, may never be confirmed. Talking about China, have you seen the ads for a Chinese dance show called Shen Yun? It seems like they're back on tour. I used to think the show was from China, but it isn't. The dance company is actually based in New York, and the performances are precisely something the CCP doesn't want you to see. It is banned in China. Why? Because Shen Yun is about authentic Chinese culture before communism. It's everything the CCP has been working to destroy since the party's inception. Last week, I saw an interview with one of Shen Yun's MCs, Jared Mattson, and it was quite eye-opening.
The classical Chinese dance style Shen Yun performs in is an antiquity dating back at least 3,000 years to the grand courts of Chinese emperors. And from that ancient tradition, Mattson found answers that modern science and technology couldn't give him.
Why do you think it's important to have this push for authentic Chinese culture, especially nowadays when there's so much pushing for modernization and these alternative views? Like, why is it so significant?
Yeah, we're losing our connection. We're becoming more and more like robots. I think everybody feels that. We all have cell phones, and it's great. We can look anything up, and it has all these advantages. But at the same time, I mean, this is a hot topic these days, right? Like people going off into the forest to do a retreat, right? To get rid of technology. Really, this is what they're looking for. What does it mean to be human? Some of these deeper questions that when you come to Shen Yun, we explore these.
So why is Mattson, a Westerner, part of Shen Yun? The MC said he has had a passion for Chinese and traditional Chinese culture since high school. He ended up taking a trip to China in 1994. But once there, he realized it wasn't the China he learned about in books. At the end of the day, it's a communist society now. Years later, Mattson heard about Shen Yun. He said there he found the real Chinese culture he had been so fascinated with and wanted to be a part of it.
And the Chinese Communist Party also talks about traditional Chinese culture, but how is that different from what Shen Yun represents?
Well, they started doing it recently, and when they do talk about traditional Chinese culture, they use it to try to end up promoting communism.
A typical example of the CCP spreading propaganda under the disguise of Chinese culture is the Confucius Institutes. These institutions offer Chinese language and cultural classes from calligraphy and cooking to Tai Chi. However, they are essentially extensions of the CCP that censors certain topics and indoctrinates CCP propaganda into its course materials. For example, in 2018, a keynote speaker at Savannah State University in Georgia had a reference to Taiwan deleted from her bio at the request of the university's Confucius Institute. Last August, under the Trump administration, the State Department formally designated the Confucius Institute Center in Washington as a foreign mission. For the last few years, the U.S. has been shutting down these institutions. Real culture and art should be pure and free of political propaganda. Although Shen Yun is performed outside of China, the CCP has tried everything to stop it. The regime was responsible for slashing the tires of its tour bus, hired internet trolls to influence the perception of the show, and ordered the Chinese consulates to contact local theaters and officials to shut down the performances. I have to say, it's quite despicable. In some way, it reminds me of the so-called woke culture today, which is everything against American values. The far left attempts to rewrite the history of how America was founded. I want to applaud Shen Yun for presenting authentic Chinese culture that is not tainted by communism to the world. It's great that they found a home in the United States, and for our country, it's time to restore American values now. Following Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order promoting patriotic education, the Arizona House on Friday passed a similar measure. A new bill is aimed to prepare students from K through 12 to be civically responsible and knowledgeable adults. Public schools will be required to teach a comparative discussion of political ideologies, including communism, totalitarianism, and how they conflict with the founding principles of the United States. Arizona's education department must also create new civic education standards for school districts and include the original intent of America's founding documents and principles. The Education Board will develop a list of oral history resources that provide patriotism based on first-person accounts of victims of other nations' governing philosophies. School teachers will be required to share stories from people who fled communism as part of the curriculum. Communists aren't shy about their goal to be the sole and only power on earth. It's in their manifesto. To defend principles of freedom and democracy for the free world, America must take up the lead and be responsible for our young generation's education. Children are the country's future. We hope Arizona will soon sign the bill into law and join Florida to be a national model for all states to follow. Now, before we continue, please hit that like button and subscribe. And most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Word of mouth, as we all know, is the most effective way to spread the truth. And if you want to support Eye Opener, please consider donating to the show or purchasing a mug that matters. You can find the link in the description below. Your support is greatly appreciated. Salute. Facebook is in the spotlight again. The Texas Supreme Court on Friday ruled that Facebook could be held accountable if sex traffickers used the platform to prey on children. 3 lawsuits were filed in Texas involving teenage trafficking victims who allegedly met their abusers on Facebook. Prosecutors also said Facebook was negligent for not blocking sex traffickers from the site. However, in the past, Section 230 was a roadblock to suing social media companies. Section 230 is a liability shield that protects internet companies from litigation based on content people post on their platforms. The law is considered one of the most important legal tools for internet companies. The protection has allowed platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter to create businesses around user-generated content, and these companies have thrived. However, the law has also allowed big tech to become too powerful with too little regulation. Facebook, Twitter, Google, and others now openly censor conservative viewpoints while allowing extreme far-left rhetoric to proliferate. Republican lawmakers and President Trump pushed for changes to Section 230. On June 25th, the Texas Supreme Court wrote, while holding internet platform accountable for words or actions of their users is one thing, which Section 230 does not allow yet, holding them accountable for their own misdeed is quite another thing. This is particularly the case for human trafficking. The court is allowing sex trafficking victims to move forward with their lawsuit against Facebook. But Facebook has yet another problem. Democrats are not entirely satisfied with the social media censorship efforts. At least during the 2020 presidential race, officials from the Biden campaign found the social media giant not censoring conservative speech enough. In September, a Team Trump account posted a video of Donald Trump Jr. saying Democrats plan to use millions of ballots to cheat in the election and called on people to join an election security army for his father. A Biden campaign official then tried to characterize the video as a call for violence for using the word army. The official emailed Facebook saying, the fact that this video is still on your platform and is being used to recruit some sort of, and I quote, army for Trump's election security effort is astounding. After Facebook replied that the video didn't violate its policies, the Biden official responded with outrage. We implore you to approach this problem with seriousness and a sense of mission. We have found that to be lacking thus far. If the effort and mental gymnastics undertaken to allow this post to remain on your platform were instead devoted to carrying out your acknowledged responsibility to democracy, we might see some progress. The following month, Facebook came back with a new policy allegedly against militarized language. The social media giant stressed the misinformation that Democrats are concerned about isn't only an issue on Facebook. However, Democrats continue to harass Facebook because of its influence on the American public. In the days immediately after the election, a Democrat pointed out to Facebook that one Stop the Steal group appeared to be moderated by a potential member of a militia group. Facebook subsequently reviewed and removed some content flagged by Democrats and banned all Stop the Steal content after the January 6th breach. Apparently, the move was still too slow for the left. Another DNC official, Timothy Durgan, claimed he felt his repeated warnings to Facebook were falling on deaf ears. Democrats must have pushed a lot harder because we all know what happened next. Facebook took down a number of high-profile conservative accounts and suspended President Trump's account for 2 years. In Georgia, Henry County, Superior Court Judge Brian Amero on June 24th ruled allowing the Fulton County election lawsuit to go forward. The county must produce digital images of 147,000 mail-in ballots. In addition, Amero ruled that the original respondents of the lawsuit, Fulton County, the county's Board of Registration and Elections, and the county clerk of Superior and Magistrate Courts could not be defendants because of certain immunity. However, the judge did approve a request to add 5 people from the Board of Registration and Elections to the lawsuit. Lead attorney Bob Cheeley viewed the ruling as a huge success. He said he believes the voters will get an audit and get the truth. If an audit is granted, it would be one of the largest independent reviews in the country for the controversial 2020 election. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me in our Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on Newmaker, Gab, and Parler. Don't forget, please sign up to the email list so we can stay in touch. I'd like to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.